It has begun!
Video game movies. One of the most popular and lucrative things in the world is video games. But they can't make a good video game movie. If anybody remembers the abortion that Super Mario Bros. Was, ooh, that was awful. I was excited to see that as a kid. But everything changed in 1995 because Mortal Kombat got its own movie. And guess what? It was kind of fucking awesome. And guess what again? It is still pretty awesome. Recently, and I mean super recently, IGN had just done a story. I had no idea that the producers of Mortal Kombat had wanted Brandon Lee to star as Liu Kang. They also wanted Jean-Claude Van Damme to star as Johnny Cage. Unfortunately, Brandon Lee would pass away due to an unfortunate accident in The Crow, and even more unfortunately, fate worse than death, Jean-Claude Van Damme would be Guile in Street Fighter the movie. Jean-Claude Van Damme, I still do not forgive you for that. I'm serious, like JCVD, if you're out there, that was really a bad look. That movie sucks ass. It was Raul Julia. That's right, Raul Julia. One of the finest actors the stage has ever seen. And his last film was Street Fighter? And then you said Vaya con Dios? And Shane Black was involved with this? The guy who gave us fucking Die Hard and Lethal Weapon and Predator? Wow, Street Fighter was a bad movie. But Mortal Kombat was a good one. And I was pumped. It had a great soundtrack. The martial arts were good. That is until 1997. The house that Freddy built, New Line Cinema, had great success with films like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and especially the Nightmare on Elm Street series. So why not jump into video games? I don't see why not. James Cameron's I can't even say this for some reason. James Cameron's Lightstorm Entertainment had teamed up with Threshold Pictures, and they made Mortal Kombat. And it was a resounding success. It made a lot of money at the box office. It was actually a pretty good movie. I watched it again recently and I loved it. However, in 1997, something that happened that should have never happened. And I'm not talking about The Happening with Mark Wahlberg. Because, dear God, what's happening now? Ugh. Anyway, ugh. Have you seen The Happening? It's fucking awful. Talk about celluloid trash. It's probably one of the worst expensive B movies ever made. It's a total piece of shit. But that's for another episode, because you know I got it for $2. But we'll talk about that later. This happened. Mortal Kombat Annihilation. I get itchy and scratchy just thinking about it. And I'm not talking about the cartoon cat and mouse from The Simpsons. Or am I? Yeah, that was another Simpsons reference. Keep counting, kids. There's a lot more in these episodes than you think. Because I love The Simpsons. I still watch it. Why? Because I got nothing better else to do on Sunday nights. So, there was a lot going on behind the scenes at this time. And they rushed this film into production. And there is nothing remotely salvageable. Except for one KMFDM song, and one Rammstein song, and yeah, the rest of the film is pretty much a piece of shit. Recounting the story would even be stupid because I'm not even sure what the story was. See, there was a lot of things about this movie that I recently discovered. One thing being that Tony Jaa, that's right, yeah, that Tony Jaa from Ong Bak, was Liu Kang, Robin Shu's stunt double. In fact, Ray Park is in this film as well. Yes, that Ray Park, the guy who was Darth Maul, yeah, he was Raiden's stunt double. This movie was plagued, I mean plagued, with production errors. Anything that could go wrong pretty much went wrong. So what essentially happened was the director of this movie was told, just shoot fight scenes and we'll figure out the rest. So they had a soundtrack and they had fight scenes, but very little plot. Because while the film was going on, there were two very important factors. One was a writer's strike. So it was illegal for them to actually write scenes, but it wasn't illegal for them just to have well-choreographed fight scenes that really weren't that well choreographed. Are you a fan of late 90s shitty CGI? Boy, so am I. This film is full of it. Even when the characters at the end, Shao Kahn and Liu Kang, decide to do their animalities, they wanted to do a stop-motion throwback to the works of Ray Harryhausen. Guess what? They said, no, scrap that. We'll just get some CGI in there. And it looks awful. I mean, it's just awful. From beginning to end. This movie was so bad that Christopher Lambert, or Christopher Lambert, depending on where you're from, decided not to appear in it. He did a direct-to-video version of Beowulf. Really? Like, really, this movie was that bad? Now, the tagline for this movie is destroy all expectations. And when you watch this piece of shit, you probably should. Because you should have no expectations. It's one of the worst films I've ever seen. So, how much did I get it for? Well, there's actually a pretty good pack you can get. It's Mortal Kombat, Mortal Kombat Annihilation, Spawn, and Mortal Kombat Legacy. You can pick that up probably at Target for 15 bucks on Blu-ray. Good deal. But I had to have this because I'm a collector, and I got it for about $4.75 with shipping to my house from eBay. There's no special features on this disc. I think there's a trailer. God, is this movie fucking awful? I watched it the other night, and I was just sitting there the whole time, and I'm saying to myself, I'm like, how could it be this shitty? Like, I was in disbelief. And then just when you think it sucks, just when you think it gets completely ridiculous, the first 5 minutes of the movie, they kill off fucking Johnny Cage, they kill off Sonya, they kill off all their central characters. My good friend Michael Jai White, who's not actually my good friend, but I wish he was, when I actually met Michael Jai White, it got creepy. On both occasions. See, I've met and talked to Michael Jai White a couple of times. Each time he doesn't remember me. And then he just thinks I'm weird and creepy because I like his films. Shut up, Michael Jai White. You should be happy that someone collects your movies. Prick. Thanks for the autograph, though. You're the best, Michael Jai White. I digress. The point being here is that Michael Jai White was supposed to play Jax. Guess what? Somebody at New Line Cinema said, hey, you want to play Spawn? And he's like, wait, let's see. Be in the sequel to a shitty Mortal Kombat movie or be the lead in a Todd... Yeah, I think I'll be the lead in my own movie. That's a stupid decision. Why would I ever do that? We all know how Spawn turned out, and don't worry, we will be talking about that in a future episode. I love you, Michael Jai White. Please have my babies. Please have my babies. So, moving right along, Mortal Kombat Annihilation really is probably one of the worst things to ever happen to cinema. No, really, it really is. This movie is so bad, you have to watch it to believe it. They recast, except for Robin Shou and the chick who plays, I don't know, she's the chick Katana, Talsha Soto. Those are the only two people that are the same in this movie. I mean, this movie is such a piece of shit. At the time, Mortal Kombat 3 had hit arcades, and they were trying to just shove characters in. Like, Cyrax is in it. There's a bunch of characters in it. Sorry, I was day drinking before this episode, you have to forgive me. They just kept trying to jam one character after another into this movie, and none of it really made any sense. And just when you think it gets worse, the movie ends. I mean, it just fucking ends! Out of nowhere. It's like, here's the third act, he fights the guy, they do the animalities, and then it's over. Like, the whole movie just ends. I waited for a post-credit sequence, but there is none. There's just darkness, like the darkness and the void that was left in my soul. New Line Cinema was undergoing a lot of changes. They had been bought by Time Warner. They tried to crank this movie out as fast as they could due to the writer's strike, and also because New Line Cinema was suffering. New Line Cinema's legacy will not be remembered by Mortal Kombat Annihilation, but rather a lovely swan song that you've come to know as the Lord of the Rings trilogy. After that, Robert Shea really didn't have any involvement whatsoever with any of the films. But that would happen much later. So let's go back to 1997. This movie was crap, but they needed to get it out because they had a bad deal that they had signed, especially at that time with Midway and with Time Warner. Ed Boon, creator of Mortal Kombat, has gone on record by saying Mortal Kombat Annihilation was the worst thing that they ever did to Mortal Kombat fans. And he was not kidding, because damn, No, I mean really, go. It's on HBO until 10/31/2015. If you're watching this in the future, you're shit out of luck. But if you see this episode early, go watch it on HBO On Demand. I mean, it's really, really awful. Like, I'm sitting here and I'm dissecting this film and tearing it apart. But goddamn, you gotta see it to believe it. The worst thing, though, that came out of all this was that WCW at the time, which was owned by Time Warner, decided to have their own Mortal Kombat ripoff of Sub-Zero. His name was Glacier. Oh, you don't believe me? Well, guess what? Here's Glacier. See? I told you. They made a crappy WCW wrestler ripped off from Sub-Zero. Why? Well, they own the property. So they ripped off themselves? What a piece of shit.